Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. We have got a ton to cover. We've got release notes, we've got updates on lore, we have predictions or thoughts coming for the 6th anniversary of Sea of Thieves. There's a lot to get through, so let's get into it. But before I get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They are the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to support this content and make sure that they get access to the Gold Hoarder episodes that they can join in on to share their thoughts, feelings, and concerns about Sea of Thieves. And from their perspective, the most purest perspective you can get out there on the internet. So I really appreciate them coming through with the support. It means the world to me, and I want to thank them each episode. So thank you to Adorable, L Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Hayes, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Iron John, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, I'm Dependent Now, Jorby Jorbs, J Hood, Carl Embo, Kazia the Aficionado, Cryptic Slayer, Lumpy SRQ, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Mutinous Max, Nipper Kim, Norwegian, Raja the Brave, Regis Stella the Brony Pirate, Replicated Flame, Rustbelt Kid, Scamelt 666, Captain Dazzum, Tommy D, TN Professor, Real Big Tuna, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Anthony N. Jr., Captain J. Rat of the Flaming Cold Sore, The Lore Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H., Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooskidoo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and Zam Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me. I especially appreciate all the folks that are over on YouTube that have been liking and commenting on the video. I definitely appreciate that. And I've been seeing some growth over on YouTube, so I appreciate that. It means a lot to me as a small creator. So I really like having that kind of stuff show up from time to time. I did want to quickly call out Jeff H's comments over on the Patreon. This is something that only the Patreons really get access to comment on the Patreon feed. And a lot of folks do use that over there. So I appreciate that. But I wanted to read this out because it wasn't really something that could get shared across like social media. So I wanted to kind of like let you know about Jeff's comments on last episode where that was 316. He goes on to say, an absolute riveting conversation. I could have listened to another hour easily, brutally honest, in depth, all encompassing, and most importantly, fair. I'm very much hoping 2024 is the year Rare rights the ship. Hopeful but trepidatious. My fear is that someday down the road, a doc about Sea of Thieves will be made, and that doc will appertain to one of, if not the most unique game ever created. Never lived up to all it should have been, could have been. Moreover, that was done by its own creators, entailing the Disney partnership, inability to stick with a plan, failure to develop their own narrative in the service of others' narratives, etc. It will be a shame if such a doc is ever warranted, but if it does, I think you would be ideal for it. Writer, director, developer. I appreciate the comment because it's such a warranted comment. Given that I think I've being that I was part of the original documentary that they did it, I would love to come back to talk about the game if it ever got to that state, because I think that I would try to bring as much of a passionate perspective of like, this game could have been awesome. I really love it and always wanted it to be. I don't think that it'll ever be warranted as an actual documentary, because I don't think this game will ever go down in history as the game that could have been. I think Rare has to date managed to do something really awesome with this game, something that no one else has been able to really replicate quite as well. Like, they actually have managed to capture lightning in a bottle. All the issues aside, I think that this has definitely been the biggest game that this studio in the history of its making games has done, next to honestly like GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong. Like, there are some very lofty titles to live up to the legacy of Rare, right? But a lot of that has been in the past. A lot of that has been stuff that has come as a result of partnerships with Nintendo. This is the first game, in my opinion, that has transcended Rare's legacy as an actual like studio. And I don't think that they'll ever have to or I don't think there will ever be a documentary of how Rare had lightning in a bottle and they uncorked it and it was lost. Because I think if you honestly look back at the history of the game, as much as I like to try and ensure that I'm being fair about the things that go on with the actual gameplay and stuff, they really have created such a magical piece of content. And the fact that it's a live game is the struggle. They could have made just a single player game or a multiplayer game that was a linear narrative and just one and done. But I don't think we would have gotten the beautiful creation that was the Pirates of the Caribbean game. I don't think that we would have been able to see like what a point and click adventure game in 3D could have been, if not for like them making this a live service game and turning it into like a way to create like the Monkey Island Tall Tales. I really do hope that the issues that we are having and the issues that I talk about or in this episode, because I'm recording this after the fact, is something that we look back on and think, yeah, it was an issue, but it really was just kind of the small end of the spectrum. When the game came out, it was rated, I believe, at like a 6 or initially. I think they've gone back and re-reviewed it. Most sites have gone back and re-reviewed it and given it an 8. I do, or an 8 out of 10. Sorry, to be a little bit clear there. Whole numbers, not like a 100-point scale. But they really have just continued to plug away at this thing. And I know that the devs love this game, and I know that they are constantly trying to better it and to make sure that the content that they're making not only is inspired but loved, but created from the passion of the community as well as their own ideas. And I know that we're all having trouble with some of the technical aspects of it, but at the end of the day, I think everyone will think fondly of this game as opposed to the idea of it needing a documentary to kind of break down the issues that caused its eventual downfall. I don't see that being something that's ever going to be warranted, but I do hope that regardless of what happens, I will help or be able to help share my voice for any kind of history that is this game. I've had amazing opportunities to be able to do that already, and the fact that even exists is already a pretty big honor. So it's all coming from passion. Anything that I say that is brutally honest is coming from a place of love, because I want them to know that this is important to me. It's important to you. And I think that stands out a lot more than what, higher ups may say about the game needing to go one place or another, or what they need to do to, right the ship. I think the ship is veering off course a little, but I think that they've got a lot of love and compassion, and it's kind of like sailing through a storm. You can let go of the wheel for a little bit, and you'll kind of, the wheel will kind of turn, you'll kind of go off course, but you're still on the ship, and you're still ready to get back on helm and pull it back into its direction. You're still kind of navigating your way through that storm. And I think that's Rare. I think that's Rare's ready. They're ready to ensure that, they're trying to keep at least one hand on the wheel, but they got to go down and grab a bucket of water once in a while. Or they're never going to get those stormfish. So hopefully that didn't go on too terribly long. I know that the patron thing, it's usually like the pitch and stuff, and most people just want to get to like the actual meat and potatoes of the episode, which is good this week. I'm really happy with the way the episode turned out. But at the end of the day, I do think that a lot of us just love this game. And I think realistically, if we're being honest with ourselves, we just want the game to run in a state that ensures that we get to continue loving it, if that makes sense. So hopefully I didn't get too mushy on you guys. Pirates, yar, let's go. First on today's docket, let's talk about the release notes that just came out from last week. This is going to cover all of the stuff that came in for patch 2.10.2 for season 11. Now, there is a lot to go over, and I'm going to try my best to make sure that I cover all of it for you. So first off, let's talk about Easy Anti-Cheat. That is now live. So if you have logged into the PC client version, you'll probably have seen a little bit of a loading screen and a splash page showing the little blue teddy bear letting you know that Easy Anti-Cheat is active. It's funny that we get anti-cheat in the game and now people are saying, oh, well, it's not good enough. It's not quite as strong as it needs to be. We're still seeing cheaters. And it's like, come on, folks, let's at least accept the fact that, you know, we have fewer cheaters now than we did before we had anti-cheat, because it is doing something. And coincidentally enough, Halo Infinite just announced that in their upcoming patch, not only have they done a full network overhaul, but to increase reliability, they're also adding Easy Anti-Cheat to their game. And recently I've seen some people say, oh, well, you know, I play X game and X game still has cheaters even with Easy Anti-Cheat. And I have to say, I know that there is not going to be a program that is going to be able to stop every single cheater out there, but having some anti-cheat is still better than no anti-cheat. And asking any game to be free of cheaters is a beautiful dream. And I just want to say, keep on dreaming, dreamer. I love you. But I'm glad to see that we are going to be getting updates in the future. This is actually something that I thought was very, very nice. There's going to be regular updates to the schedule to keep in sync with the cheat developers that are working on Easy Anti-Cheat, because this is something that is coinciding with really big titles. You know, Halo Infinite's picking it up. Sea of Thieves just picked it up. We talked about last week with Davram that Fortnite and Apex Legends both have these integrated. Those are ones that I went into the Apex Legends. I don't know if it was like a tournament. It was esports. I went into like one of the things and I popped into their Twitch chat, who had 18,000 viewers at the time that I jumped in there, and I was like, hey, I want to know if there's cheaters in this game. Anybody see any cheaters when they're playing this game? And everyone that responded to me in the 3 to 5 minute time period out of the 18,000 all said no, except for one guy. One guy said that the pros that were playing in the actual tournament, the team that he was rooting against, was cheating. But I can't really take that data into account. But no one in that Twitch chat seemed to really think that there were cheaters in Apex Legends. Now, I've heard contrary, and I'm sure there probably are, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to call this a win. And if you think that you have seen a cheater in game, I would say chances are probably not. But also, unless it's like someone flying around, dropping kegs on you, turning invisible, and playing music while they're blundering you off your ship, chances are they're just better at the game. And not to say that you're not good at the game, because you're amazing at the game, and they should be considered cheaters if that's the case. But overall, I'm glad that Easy Anti-Cheat is in the game now. It's nice. I appreciate that. It feels a lot more that it's the reason why I liked playing Xbox only servers on the Xbox, is because I didn't have to worry about cheaters on there. I could go into a fight knowing that if I lost, it was because I wasn't good enough, or I made the wrong decision somewhere, or I should have done something differently with the outcome of that fight. And it wasn't something that was out of my control, right? Now, same thing with PC. I feel more confident that if this is in place, there's a good chance that I'm not going to have to worry as much about people beating me in fights because they're not abiding by the same rules as I am. So just good to see. Next on today's docket, let's talk about Safer Seas solo play. So Safer Seas now has solo play. This is going to basically decouple solo play in Safer Seas from Game Pass Core and Ultimate, which are the subscription services that are required for most online multiplayer games. Given that it's everything cosmetic wise is tied to your account, you shouldn't have to worry about losing access to the game if you want to still play solo. I think this is really good for folks that want to pick it up on Steam and want to have that solo experience to try and test it out for a couple hours to see if they like it. If they do, then keep the game. If not, return it. You don't feel like you have to buy into anything, but now that I even say that, that's not really the case. So this is probably going to be better more for like PlayStation users, because PC players don't have to pay for Game Pass Core or Ultimate to play games online. Again, still very weird that consoles are still beholden to that. But nice to know, especially given that sales usually go down to like $20 for Sea of Thieves on console. You can generally pick up the game for $20 after this long, get a ton of content in safer seas if you're playing solo, and never have to touch Game Pass Core or Ultimate if you don't want to. I suspect this is going to open up the Sea of Thieves to a lot of people in other countries where Game Pass Ultimate and Core have different price values or are maybe not even available in their market. We'll have to see. I'd be curious to understand like a little bit more about why they decided to do this. They did want to note that this is technically not an offline mode, because they still need to connect to the servers. It would be cool one day if there was like a 200 gig version of the game that was offline for solo play, but I think that's asking a lot, so I'm not going to worry about that. Let's see. Next on today's docket, we've also got virtual keyboard support has been updated, including additional language supports. This is going to be for simplified Chinese, traditional Chinese, Thai, Japanese, Korean, and Russian, which are all, most of those generally have some sort of kanji, katakana, hiragana type languages. So, Thai, I don't think so. Korean does have some sort of a language that is more, what do they call it? Pictographs? I can't remember. Glyphs? I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, Russian, not so much sure why, but that was left out apparently at some point. Now it's not. And there's also, I know there's going to be, I might as well mention it now, there's going to be a mouse and keyboard support that is been added back to Xbox functionality. Now, I've had a couple, one person on Twitter say that it doesn't work for them, at least for the keyboard. So, it may vary as far as your experience, but if it's not working, just report it so they can know that it's still not working, because according to the notes, it should be. Anyway, moving on, we've got players will now see a message of the day on the front end of the menu highlighting current seasonal features. This is something that I see with Destiny 2. It feels like it's pretty much ripped out from Destiny 2. So when you log into the game, they tell you like what activities have bonuses and upcoming events, current seasonal stuff that's going on, so that you have like an idea of like, hey, if you're logging in and you don't know what week it is and you haven't been paying attention, by the way, all strikes are double rewards and gains. So it's a lot, better to go run strikes that week instead of PvP Crucible, or playing Gambit, which no one ever plays Gambit, sadly. So things like that are great ways to surface information about the game that you want to be aware of. That's representative of like what's going on at that moment in that week, because it's sometimes tough to keep up with that kind of stuff. Whereas right now, what I've been seeing is that this kind of message of the day is just an advertisement. Rare seems to be putting this out there for like seasonal stuff. Like if you want to have a Golden Glory weekend, they'll let you know about it. I've logged into the game multiple times today just for the sake of like investigating things on the patch notes and getting notes typed up and whatnot. So I've lazy bearded in and out of the game multiple times. And every single one that I have seen have all been for Emporium updates, except for one, which is the Athena messages starting on like the 20th for the 6th anniversary. That was the only one that I've seen where it's been like something that's actually coming up. They could be advertising Twitch drops right now if they wanted to do something like that, but I haven't seen that pop up. If you have, please let me know so that I can mend that later. But for right now, it's basically just telling you, hey, there's a bunch of there's a bunch of stuff in the Emporium to go buy, which kind of pulls away from the fact that it's like intended to highlight current season features and upcoming content and other exciting news within the world of Sea of Thieves. Instead, we're just trying to sell you stuff on the Emporium. So maybe tone it down a little bit. I don't know. Let's see. What else have we got? Oh, Next on the docket, we've actually got the Adventures tab in the main menu where you see like your resources and your equipment and your pirate and ship logs has been hidden. Can't imagine why, but it's not there anymore. It's gone. It's forever gone. They say hidden from the quick menu. I say gone. But anyway, Adventures tab, RIP. Sorry. I'm going to miss those mementos. Next on the docket, report a player. That is the in-game tool has been extended to provide a web-based route for making a more detailed report through a support site. I'm glad they're doing something like this, but additionally, it shouldn't be hidden in the settings section. They should pull that out of it and put it into the main menu when you hit like what's this button? I have no clue what this button is called. I call it the box button on Xbox controller. I'm sure it actually has like a number or like an actual name. It just used to be the back button on the 360, or I don't even know if it was like the white and black buttons back on the OG controller. But nowadays it's got two little boxes. I don't know what those are. I just call them box. The other one's the Earth symbol from Fifth Element. It's like got the three lines that are just straight. That is 100% the Earth symbol. So right one, Earth symbol, left one, box. So anyway, if you hit the box button on a controller, or escape on PC, that menu that pops up that's got like, my crew, other crew, leave party settings, exit to the desktop, that kind of settings. That's where I think the reporter player should be, because that way you're not like going to report someone, going into other crews and thinking you're going to see a list of the players that would be most recently played with, so that you can report them because it's other crews, which would make sense given that you're trying to report another crew member, not your crew member. If you wanted to do that, then you'd go to my crew, but instead you'd go to settings where it has reported play. You get what I'm going. Anyway, GDK integration has updated, which caused most players to have to download up to 50 to 60 gigs of data. It wasn't nearly as bad as a full reinstall. However, this did cause me to remove the Windows version when I saw that the Microsoft Store version was actually 100 gigs, and I'm just using Steam now. I don't know what's going on with the Windows version. There's a weird bug that I ran into that I've seen maybe like less than a dozen players talk about, that I've seen mention it, where when I hit T on the keyboard, what that does is it pulls up my pirate text chat box to like be able to, like type in whatever I want, hit enter, and it says it in pirate text, as opposed to, using one of the quick speech radio options. Or like the pirate talk, right? So when I hit T, there's a weird like window that pops up, like the Xbox logo shows up, and it's like UI, gaming UI bar, and it just has like a weird text field. And I can click into it, type it, and then I have to like tab down to like submit, or like hit enter to submit, and then it goes into the pirate text. It like pulls me out of the game. It's really weird, and I hate it, and I don't know what's causing it, but I've switched over to the Steam version on PC because it doesn't happen there, and I knew I was going to have to download a large portion of the game anyway. So I figured I'd give the Steam version a try, since I got that back when we were beta testing the Steam client. What was it, like 2019? I think it was 2019. Next on the docket, let's talk about the Emporium. There's going to be a lot to go over in the Emporium. I have feelings on what they've done with the Emporium right now. Good things, bad things, a little bit of mix, but for all intents and purposes, heads up right now, the quote unquote blow bubbles emote is free and available. So you can log in, make sure you get your blow bubbles emote, make a little note. I know you're probably listening to this while you're in the car or at work or something like that, but in your mind's palace, wherever that is, wherever you have like the favorite picture of X actor on your wall that you sit next to when you're thinking in your brain of just wanting to have peace and quiet and not have to work, and you'd rather be home sailing, just right now, just in that space, blowing bubbles emote, blowing bubbles emote, blowing bubbles emote. So don't forget about that. The Stone Isle Hopper Outlaw Ship Collection weapon bundle, costume, and Banjo are now available in the store. We are now trending into recolors for the Emporium, whereas in the past we received new unique sets. I do not like this trend. I'm fine with this trend when it comes to content that is going to be in the game that is just like the standard in-game shops. I don't mind recolors there because it's a gold sync, which is a necessity for the hardcores out there that have millions and millions of gold. It's good that they have something to just, collect it. They may not ever use it. When and if we ever get what's it called, clothing like loadouts. I don't want to say costume loadouts because we already have costumes and they're full sets. But if we have like clothing loadouts where, and hopefully they don't put this in the Emporium, because I would hate that they offer more slots for Emporium purchases, like as if it was Call of Duty or something like that. I shouldn't even have said that because then they might actually do that now that I mention this. Oh well. If they do, I apologize. I will bear this burden just like I called Duke the Dark Lord before he actually turned his pulled the veneer off and revealed his mask. But I hope that if we ever do get like clothing loadouts, that they give us an option to sort by set and color, that we have like filters. That's something that I think is really sorely missing in Sea of Thieves. Currently, we have some pretty nice filters as far as like what we've purchased and what we can use or what's locked to us. But we don't have like ways to, and we actually do have filters kind of in the sense that they're broken down by the actual item that they are. But we can't click on the Imperial Sovereign hat and have like an option so that if we're hovering over that, we could click a button. Doesn't matter what button is, because you're in a separate UI. So it's all kind of like you have as many options as you really want, but it then pulls up the rest of that set within the shop vendor that you're at. So weapons stuff pulls up the weapons stuff, equipment stuff pulls up the equipment stuff, clothing set picks up the clothing set for that theme. And it allows you to kind of like take a look at the whole set and, you can equip them all at once easily. And it gives you that opportunity. And maybe this is something that, I should probably have written down for when I was thinking about like things that they were going to tease that were coming to the sandbox for Sea of Thieves for the 6th anniversary announcement. But well, there you have it. So going back to the original thing here, the Emporium is got this new stone version of the Isle Hopper Outlaw set, which we've already got the standard Isle Hopper Outlaw set, but I don't like the fact that they are starting to do recolors in the Emporium. The Emporium has always done a really good job of releasing unique sets to the Emporium. They're actual money. They want to have something like that available for people. And they are something that is very curated. They have a very strong purpose and point to the design. Like the Bleakwood Banshee set is designed the way it is. Now, would I like to have a recolor of that? Sure. But I mean, that would be a different game where I have access to a palette of colors and I can purchase those palette colors and change it on whim, or just have that access to be able to change that stuff on the go and not have to buy like a whole new set. So if I wanted to have like if I saw the Isle Hopper Outlaw set and I thought, oh, that's awesome. I hate the color, but I really love the set. So I'll still get it, and then a year later they come out with the Stone Isle Hopper Outlaw set. I think that's cool, but I would have actually liked to have seen a brand new set that was just its own theme. So I don't like this because it feels like it's less effort. And if I'm going to be spending money on the Emporium, or if I'm going to be collecting these sets, I like that they are putting in the effort to make these fresh, new sets that don't just fall on the backs of content that's already been made in the past, if that makes sense. It's a nitpick. I recognize that because I'm sure that there are folks out there that take a look at this Stone Isle Hopper Outlaw ship set and they think that is way more up my alley as far as like look than what the original Isle Hopper Outlaw Ship collection was. And I can't blame them for that, because I myself do look at that set and think, that's really cool. I actually really like the motif that they went with that. I just hate the fact that it's a recolor, because it feels lazy to me. But that's my personal opinion. It's going to be different for everyone else. But I'm wishing that we had gotten a new cosmetic set that's never before seen. And it'll remain to be seen, like in the future going into this, to see like, okay, well, is this a one-off, or are they going to start doing this for other sets in the Emporium that are closer to like what would have been like a Sea of Thieves set? Because I look at things like the Bird and the Bear set, or maybe like the I'm trying to think of another good one, the prehistoric one that has like the amber set, or like the Spartan one that just got released into the Emporium. I look at those and I think those have very set colors for a reason, and you don't want to mess with those. So I look at the Isle Hopper set and I think, yeah, that would have been something that they could have put into the game as a reward for a Sunken Kingdom event. And because of that, I would not have been surprised, much like the Sovereign set, if they had, or the Wild Rose set for this example, if they had gone in and done a different motif, a different color theme for that. But given that this is the real money store, I would prefer to keep recolors to just in-game gold or doubloons, and let the Emporium stay pure as a place where that is going to be a unique color and theme, and very thought out and very methodical as far as like the design and implementation. And you don't mess with that. It's an icon piece. It's a showcase piece in my mind. But again, goes back to the fact that this is just my feelings. I'm sure a lot of people probably not plussed about this, probably think it's really cool, and I don't blame them. I agree that it is really cool. I normally wouldn't be nonplussed, but this starts, I want this to kind of stick out in people's mind as like, this is when this began, so that the next time it happens, people are like, this is becoming a trend. Do we like this trend? Are we looking to support this trend? Or should this have been something that was rewarded to players through some sort of activity in the game and engaging with the content, as opposed to now I'm going to buy every single $25 version of the Isle Hopper Outlaw set because I really like that style. Next up, the Gold Cursed Whippet is now in the Emporium. It looks cute. I like it. Not going to say too much more about that. And the Ravenwood costume set from Season 8 Plunder Pass is coming to the Emporium, or it's in the Emporium now. I can't recall if this was the paid version of the Plunder Pass. I think it was part of the free one, but I generally think that the free content usually comes to Larina's store, or like in the actual store, but through doubloons and commendations and stuff. So it was a little interesting to see that this is coming to the Emporium set. And they're also introducing the Classics range. So a range of older ships collections are moving into a Classics range within the Emporium. These will be permanently reduced in price, which is really nice, and that further sets are going to be added to the range in future that are going to be made available in game for a number that have been available in game for a number of years. So like the Classics range currently includes 15 fan favorite sets, including the Cutthroat, the Sea of Sands, and the Bird and Bear collection. So if you've been holding off on any of these older sets because they aren't nearly as flashy, or whatever you want, those are going to be in the Classics range at a reduced price to try and I honestly think this is partly just that there are a lot of cosmetics in the game, and that a lot of them have been around for a while, probably aren't really moving a whole lot of numbers, I guess. And I think a lot of that's just because over the years the team has gotten really more creative and a lot better at kind of making these sets and what they can do with them. So the Classic range was kind of their first kickoff of what this would look like. And as they've gotten more elaborate over the years, it makes sense that these, being the older ones, could get put into a reduced price to maybe push some numbers for those. Because some of them, for example, like the Bird and Bear cosmetics, they're cool, but they're very simplistic, and that may be your thing. You may go for those cosmetics that you actually think are a little more underwhelming. I don't want to say underwhelming. I'm trying to think of the word that I want. They're less elaborate and a little more grounded in realism. Hopefully that does a little bit more justice than underwhelming. But I think that those make sense, right? That kind of takes care of the Emporium content. Next, let's get into the in-game cosmetics. The Maestro ship set is available now. So we got the Maestro clothing set last update. Last month, I guess would be. This month, it is the Maestro ship set. These are unlocked by getting the Artistic Soul commendations. I didn't think about this until I actually got into the game, but when I was reading the patch notes, these were already available for me, and I realized why. And it's because the commendations to unlock these fall under the Legends of the Sea commendations for Umbra. So if you've found the 5 different Easter eggs in the game, that are the artistic endeavors. If you find those 5, that will unlock the Artistic Souls commendation, which will then give you access to purchase the Maestro ship set under the shipwright. So the other ones were the Flourishing Wild Rose ship set, which are about 165k per. I believe this was the case for the Maestro ship set as well too, but these are also tied to commendations. So with these, you'll have to go out and actually complete the Wild Rose Tall Tale. And I believe you'll have to do that 5 times to be able, I'm not 100% sure on the 5 times portion of it, but I do know that you need to collect all of the different always yours commendations. So, and that is like the final commendation for that Tall Tale, the Wild Rose one from the original set of 9 Tall Tales that came out at the 2020 anniversary. So if you want to get the Flourishing Wild Rose set, which is actually a pretty nice looking set, and it's a little bit more elaborate than just the standard Wild Rose set. Bear in mind, this is the 3rd motif that we've had. This is a gold, white, and blue motif that looks pretty nice. I actually like it a little bit more than the standard red and gold motif or the purple and white motif that we got beforehand. But these, alongside the sword variants of the rapier and heavy sword, are also now available to purchase for gold. The Wild Rose sets themselves also tied to that Always Yours commendation for the Tall Tale. So if you haven't gone through the Tall Tales and you're looking to get these, just bear in mind you will have to complete that Wild Rose to completion. You'll have to get all of those knocked out before you gain access to be able to purchase these. Most of you that have been kind of, around a while and have gone through the process of doing all of the Tall Tales at least once, there's a good chance that you might have already unlocked this, but I can't be certain because I honestly mentioned earlier, I've been booting up the game and stuff. It was one of those things that I did not think to check about the number of completions that you have to do to be able to obtain the Always Yours commendation. So apologies for that. The Outpost clothing shop also is offering a wide range of new beards and hairstyles, along with the Wild Rose waxed hair, floral hair and beard, as well as a wind swept sweeping hairstyle. All of these don't require any commendations to unlock them, so you should be able to go in and just buy these straight up. The sweeping hair is particularly for any of you 90s kids out there who missed out on goth and went straight to emo. Not that I care, because you wouldn't understand anyways. All right, let's get into the serious stuff. This is the stuff that seems to be working. Non-interactable parts of the ship after surfacing from an hourglass fight now should be interactable. This was a pretty rough bug, actually, when you couldn't use your cannons, harpoons. You could touch the anchor, but only once, and not the way that you wanted to actually touch it. So that was always a killer there. You could still turn your ship, and you could still, actually, I think you could actually interact with your sails. But yeah, cannons, harpoons, the important stuff during the middle of an hourglass fight, couldn't touch. So glad that they have fixed that. I haven't been able to really put this through the paces because a lot of the queue times right now for hourglass are longer. I don't know why. I imagined more people would be coming back to play Hourglass after the anti-cheat comes in. Apparently, all the people that were playing Hourglass were the cheaters. So the few people that are left over are not. I went sailing with Godhammer and Wicked or Witch and Wailing Witch, and went to actually like do some Hourglass the night this actually went live, and we ran into probably a good 3 or 4 out of the 8 matches that we did. Most of them on a brig were either solo, duos, kids, or people trying to do a tall tale. And it really does kind of emphasize the fact that Hourglass needs a lot better introduction if you're going to be having this as a dedicated one ship versus another ship with no PvE interaction at all, because there needs to be some sort of lock behind it. Now, I don't know if that needs to be a requirement within Reaper of Souls. You have to get to a certain level to be able to unlock it, or Athena's Fortune. You know, you have to get up to like level 5 of Athena's Fortune to be able to do it. I don't know what the appropriate gate for Hourglass would be, because I don't think that time would be an appropriate measure for that, like time played. But there should be something that prevents people from going in without truly understanding what they're getting into. It's right alongside the actual like Reaper's Mark flag, right? Like the Reaper's Mark flag was originally introduced as a way to draw attention to your ship. You would be marked on the map for people to see that is a Reaper who wants to fight. Now it's just like, oh cool, it glows. Oh cool, we can see where we are on the ship or on the map, so we know exactly which ship is ours. Like that kind of thing. That's Hourglass needs to have a little more attention. It's been a while. They need to go in and start kind of like playing around with some of that stuff. But I think they got a lot more on their plate right now, so it's not 100% broke, and it's working relatively well. Aside from some of the weird stuff that I've seen, I just put in a report last week that there was someone who just randomly appeared, and I know this is not a new bug. I know this is something that's been happening for a while, but it happened while we were doing it. So grabbed a photo, uploaded it, put in their support ticket. People from other crews are randomly spawning on ships during Hourglass tunnels, and it's kind of weird. It's like, hey, this isn't the right ferry of the dam, buddy. Sorry, you're gonna have to go try again. So there's just weird stuff going on with the tunnels. Like queue times are already pretty rough, but you mix into that like ships looking as though they're facing opposite directions, but they're merged into the same ship, and it's just like it's 2 sterns attached in the middle. It's weird. There's weird stuff going on right now. I don't know what to say about that. Next thing that should be working, after losing a battle with an emergent Skelly ship or Meg, there's now a longer period between attacks. I can't test this because I don't think I've ever lost to a Skelly ship or a Meg in my life. So hopefully that's working. If you've lost to one and immediately gotten one spawned on you, feel free to let me know so I can let people know that it's not working. Next up, improved directional stick input detection on controllers and dead zone response curves. I don't really tweak with the dead zones or the response curves when it comes to my control sticks, so I leave those as default and I get used to that, and that's how I play. I'm not that pro. I'm not out here messing with my mouse acceleration curve at all. Anyway, Sailor's Knot Stronghold, whether it be the standard skeleton one or the Fort of Fortune version, will now have skeletons actually defeating it on a more consistent basis. Congrats to you that ever went out and did a Sailor's Knot Stronghold and just like hit the instant win button. I don't know. Here's a big one. Buried treasure, the thing that people have been messing around with. You got the YouTube videos out there that are now all out to date, should be working. Will no longer migrate with crews across servers. So when they dive, the buried treasure should no longer go with them. It should stick to the actual server. I don't know if they tested this with mermaids. Probably didn't, but we'll have to find out some Sea of Science later on that as well too. Players will no longer find treasure from sea forts and siren shrines reappearing after leaving and returning to a cleared area. Apparently the respawn for this was faster than the actual fort or shrine. So you could get multiple bits of loot from the same one just by leaving a cleared one and returning swiftly. Also, diving to an Athena's Fortune Ashen Lord will now have Athena's Fortune treasure more consistently, which is nice because that's the whole point of doing the dive to an Ashen Lord. Placing storage crates next to a ship barrel and working whatever kind of magic people do to break the game so that they can get extra resources. That's apparently now working. So players can no longer use a storage crate to generate additional resources from their ship barrels. I don't know how. Players should now consistently have access to their earned guild cosmetics, which is fantastic because I'm currently working on mine. I forgot they were a thing when guilds came out, and I just didn't even think to start working on those. So I've been steadily working on my Cannoneer and Navigator ones. So I actually really like that. I'm one chain shot on a mast away from completing the Cannoneer ones, and I can't believe that it was like just the, oh no, I take that back. I have to do kills with a cannon rowboat as well too. So I got to think about that next time I log on and try and work on that. But yeah, those guild cosmetics should now be more consistently available for players who actually earn them. So yay. The Gold Hoarder's Vault Voyage has been updated to prevent players from predicting the location of the treasure, which, as far as I can tell, means that they've reduced the chances of you just being able to go and get the key and go to the vault without necessarily, see, I'm not even sure like how they're doing this or what this even pertained to. So I can't test it because people are doing some weird stuff out there. But apparently this was something that was an issue. So I'll have to trust that this is fixed and unless I hear otherwise. Something else that should be working. Players are now able to interact with the shipwright when docked at Sovereign's tent on Sanctuary Outpost. Man, that was always a really annoying thing. When you go to Sovereign's, you turn in and then you want to interact with the shipwright to be able to change your cosmetics. And it's like your ship's too far. It's like, well, son of a gun. I'm at the outpost. How close does the ship need to be? So that should now be working. Ammo pouches left on board a sinking skeleton ship will now sink with the ship. This is an easy one to test. I haven't been able to test it, but it should be working unless I hear otherwise. A nice change because those little glimmers sure do bait me into hooking them with the harpoon. And then I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I really fell for that. The Shrouded Ghost figurehead will now be unlocked consistently when players have completed the Hunter of the Shrouded Ghost commendation. Please report this if you haven't already because it doesn't exist. So you shouldn't be expecting this commendation to actually be completed, which means that no figurehead should actually be rewarded as a result. So hopefully you guys get a chance to put that report in. Phantoms should now be able to hit stationary players with their lunging attack. This is the first time I've ever heard of phantoms not being able to hit you with their lunge attack, because it seems like every time I've ever fought a phantom, they'll just disappear and then I get thrown away or thrown back some point and I find out, I hear the sound of the sword lunge like 2 seconds later and I'm like, oh, that's what hit me. I thought it was just a cheater, but it's not. So phantoms should now be able to hit stationary players. So I guess the trick was just not to move. Apparently Phantom's vision is based on movement. Who knew? 2 players performing the Make Friends emote together will now summon and add friends menu as intended, which is nice because that's actually one of the coolest things in the game. That was something that really kind of like, I didn't know that that was such a one-off thing in games. I always thought like, oh, this is cool. Like Xbox must have like more of this functionality built into more of their games so that if you want to like friend someone, you can do this cool, cute little emote and it pops up your little, you know, friends list and it's like click add friend. And I'm like, oh, this is a great way to make friends in Sea of Thieves. And then years pass and people don't ever want to make friends and they don't ever want to interact outside of trading cannonballs and, you know, make friends emote breaks. No one care, you know, easy. Flags on sea forts have now returned to their original colors. If you guys don't realize, and I honestly, I really should have gone. Actually, I might just take a break real quick, finish up some of the tasty Red Baron pizza that I'm eating. Not an ad, just a praise of a really tasty pizza that's an oven-based pizza, because I don't like paying the exorbitant amount of money to order pizza to be delivered to my house when it costs a fraction of that to just go buy another bad pizza from a store and eat that and cook it myself. But I think I might finish up another slice of this, hop in, do a dive to a sea fort, and see if I can tell if the flags that I'm thinking they're talking about here are the actual flags that I think they're talking about, or if the flags that I think they're talking about are still messed up. So be right back. All right, so good news. The pizza was delicious, and I did manage to actually get a chance to dive to a sea fort. You'd be surprised. Servers right now are having a hell of a time getting you from one dive to another. I'll tell you, it took like a good 5 to 10 minutes to get from, the start of the game, logged in with the ship, to sailing, to diving, and then the amount of time it took for me to get through the dive. And this is on a solo safe seas, because I don't like spinning up a spot on a high seas if I'm just going to do something real quick and then log out. So safer seas. I mean, there's no other ships on the server. There's nothing to count. It should all just be like bada bing, bada boom, baby. Pop in there, pop out real quick. Like, no, it shouldn't take so long. It should be instant. It used to be instant. Why is it not instant anymore? But yeah, they did change the flag. So if you hadn't paid attention, or you didn't care, or you may not still care, that's also valid as well too. They used to have the Flameheart and Pendragon flags on the ship, or on the sides of the sea forts, and that was like, they just never changed them back on some of them. So all of them now have their original flags and banners kind of represented there. So that's nice. I'm glad that is working. Repeated aiming down of certain Eye of Reach models will no longer cause the top of the screen to flicker. I don't know if this is still causing issues where your scope would get stuck. So that may still be an issue, but definitely keep an eye out for that. Also, the splash screens that have now been updated to season 11 artwork and not season 9 artwork, except for so that's nice that they updated that, where it was showing things that still seem to not be working. Let's talk about the stuff that is not working. Shark frequency has returned to normal levels. That's still not working. That's still kind of an issue. I talked about this earlier, back when they added language support, but console players can once again use a mouse and keyboard with full compatibility. One person on Twitter said that they couldn't. I don't know. There's so many variables to this that it could be just a one-off, and I generally don't trust one-offs on there. So I would assume that this is working, but I had someone say that it wasn't, so I'm gonna tentatively stick it in the seems to not be working section. One of the skeleton vendors, and this is thanks to Godhammer for running around checking stuff out for lore reasons. One of the skeleton vendors, I can't remember which one it was, in the Reaper's Lair, has the same dialogue tree and prompts as the Tavern Keep legendary Luis in the Athena's Fortune Tavern. So there's that. And the one thing that seems to not be working, the game. For certain people, there have definitely been a lot more issues with the game just not loading or crashing to desktop, especially on console. A lot of folks having trouble with that. There's no way to really verify the files the way you can on a PC when it comes to console. So it's really tough to know how there's a workaround on this. But I know when I was diving on Thursday, I was suffering from disconnects during that, and there were times where, for whatever reason, if I disconnected, we would instantly get matched, and I would have to quickly rejoin to be able to get back into the match. And thankfully it did, and it worked fine. But getting disconnected or having the game crash is not an ideal state 1 month out from a PS5 launch. So I don't know if Rare is going to be able to manage this in time. We're going to have one more update before the PS5 launch. They're going to have beta tests in the middle of April to kind of test servers out to make sure things are working properly. But a lot of people are having trouble with this right now, and I feel for them, because man, that sucks. It's not fun. You want to sit down and play a game and then you can't log in. Helldivers 2 suffered for weeks with this issue where they just didn't have enough servers. And then there's still currently actually some issues where you just crash towards the end of a match and it gets really busy. And I don't know if that has something to do with it, but Sea of Thieves stability is, it's about as trustworthy as the waves being, calm. I don't know how else to say it. It's a bummer. Hopefully Rare is able to keep analytics for this and start working on a fix immediately, because if there's one thing you want at the launch of a new platform for your game, stability over everything else. Like, it doesn't matter what's coming, what's going, what do you got? Like, no big deal. We don't need anything. Just get the game in a stable state, please. That's all people want. They just want to play the game. They'll buy stuff for sure. They'll spend money, but at the end of the day, most people are having some level of difficulty with this, and just be good to get that kind of squashed out before next month. All right, let's talk about lore. We have not had a whole lot of reason to talk about lore in Sea of Thieves for quite a while, but things are beginning to change in Sea of Thieves once again. We are not going to be getting stories in the adventure method anymore, but we are still going to be able to get story in the way of seasonal updates and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting to kind of see how this goes. But we did have some stuff change in Sea of Thieves recently. We have, if you don't know, keeping up with stuff like already, the orb has been in the Reaper's hideout for a while, seeking a master and saying that things are going to unveil soon. And at Port Merrick, the Order of Souls building has had 6 tarot cards. I think they're tarot. They're just cards. But there's a card that shows a skeleton rune for resurrection that has been showing. And that is just kind of been something that there's new dialogue pertaining to it, and they're just kind of predicting what's going to happen. The idea here is obviously they're talking about Flameheart. So aside from that, what came in with this update is that there are new NPCs and some NPCs that we do know that have now moved to certain locations, as well as items that have now changed location as well too. So if you're not familiar with what's been going on, no worries. Effectively, from what I can see, the Ashen Dragon's figurehead is now moved over to the Reaper's hideout. So it was on Shipwreck Bay, where they were kind of like rebuilding the Flameheart ship, right? And then they decided to kind of put that on hold for a long time. We didn't really know what was going on with it, but it just kind of stopped being built. And now they've taken the figurehead and they've kind of adorned it to the ceiling, like as if it was some sort of chandelier in the Reaper's hideout. I originally thought this was going to be down in a layer, but no, it is definitely just hanging out literally above the giant gold mask that is the front kind of walkway up to where Junior is, hanging out there. So nice to see that change came in as well. There's been some new dialogue for the orb alluding to Athena's fortune. That also brings us to the new card that was released, which now says below. So it's resurrection below. There's also been the what are they called? The Reaper's Heart spies, the little parrots that we've seen around that are kind of like the indicators that the Reaper's the Reaper's fortune are always, or Reaper's bones. Reaper's fortune. Oh man, really starting to mix them together. The Reaper's bones spy is at Athena's fortune down in the Pirate Legend Tavern. How they got in there, who knows? Not going to ask. That's just how it is. Then we get into some of the actual juicy bits. So if you don't know, if you're not Pirate Legend, or you haven't been down to the Pirate Legend Tavern in a while, I wouldn't blame you, because genuinely there's not really a whole lot of reason to go down there on a regular basis. But BRIGGSY is back. BRIGGSY, who last was seen trapped in the Sea of the Damned with the Dark Brethren, and trapped because of a bargain that she made to help them seek a temple in return for a special cannonball that would keep Tasha's curse at bay. If you remember, Tasha cursed with the skeleton curse. Her arm is all skeleton now. She was just kind of hanging out at Ancient Isles, or Ancient Spire Outpost for the longest period of time, just waiting for BRIGGSY to find that temple and the cure for Tasha to be able to bring her back to her normal humanness. And that's out the window now. So she thought that was the only way to cure Tasha. This is according to all the dialogue trees that she has, which are 4. And she thought that the only way to cure Tasha was to help work with the Dark Brethren to find this temple, right? Regardless of the risks. That doesn't matter now. You can take all of that, paperwork and stuff, notes that you've taken, crumple it up, throw it in the trash, recycle it. Because now Wanda and Amaranta, which is odd that BRIGGSY only calls out 2 of the Brethren Court when you still have the Duke the Dark Lord and supposedly Wrathbone as the Gold Hoarder, because evil never goes away. It just kind of loses its power. Plus Davy Jones somewhere, we don't know where, trapped, Sea of the Damned probably. The Brethren Court is still out there. And why Wanda and Amaranta were not the only ones, or were the only ones mentioned here by BRIGGSY, calls into question what's going on with Duke right now. But apparently they have other concerns and a new focus, which it seems like a real write-off to the whole buildup of the dark constellations and the curse and finding a cure, and then using that against Flameheart as a bargaining chip to get revenge on the person who slighted you for your love to them and your dedication. You built them an entire Reaper hideout, and they don't even care about you or care who you are. So you make a Dark Brethren Court, and the Dark Brethren come together with Duke, who was slighted by us, supposedly, where I believe he was actually just a deep, dark person deep down, and that just got revealed when they worked with the Siren Queen, who's now dead. Just to bear in mind, she's dead, or at least we thought she was. No one's ever dead. No one's ever dead in Sea of Thieves. So now Wanda and Amaranta have a new focus. They're holed up in the Sea of the Damned, where they think they'll be able to take control of the Sea of Thieves. We don't really know how, but that's kind of what's going on there. With regards to the dark constellations that we did for BRIGGSY in the first adventure, that was kind of like bringing about the whole like change, the memories of the wilds back when, remember the wilds? Remember those spots in the wilds on those islands where it was like nice and green and lush, and you're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if the wilds was actually nice and like the shores of plenty? And they're like, nah, this is just a temporary thing, don't get used to it. And we're like, yeah, but we would really love it. And they're like, no, don't get used to it. And we're like, please, we really want to have a pretty wilds, we want it to be wild. And they're like, no, scorched earth. All right, fine, hate this. So that all for naught, doesn't matter. Wanda says, or no, sorry, not Wanda. BRIGGSY says, not for, like we asked her basically, are the constellations done? She says, not for BRIGGSY, unless they're needed, in which case she's always up for an adventure. Even though this one cost her dearly over the years due to the need to search ancient sacred sites for clues about them with someone who we didn't know about. BRIGGSY let them down, apparently, this person that she was like hunting down the cure for, a fellow rogue, and rogue is with a capital R, as a partner in crime. Now I'm gonna say right now, like, Suds was the person that used to work with BRIGGSY. He's the one that wrote down all the little journals, especially throughout a lot of her life, and kind of helped guide us, especially during like the Shores of Gold and stuff like that. So when we found that out through other adventures, things like that. So Suds, who I thought was like going to be the go-to for her quote unquote partner in crime, not who I think that's actually going to be, because BRIGGSY says that this crewmate was a she. And because of that, she was let down. And this person sacrificed herself for BRIGGSY. Most likely, I'm gonna say right now, because in the dialogue, Rogue, I just gave it away. Dang it! So much for that build up, boy. Good job there. Rogue is with a capital R, and that's typically like an indication of a pronoun, right? So Rogue being a capital R, I thought alluded to someone with an R name, someone who is slighted, who is let down. BRIGGSY is one of the skeleton people that we fight in the original Tall Tales. To get to them, or in part of that, Rook is another character in those Tall Tales that has had a very tragic story. If you've read Heart of Fire, if you know kind of where she's from, also her love for George through the Wild Rose tall tale. She's prominent, but she's not really front of mind. So the fact that BRIGGSY turned into a skeleton, she never asked to be cursed, if you remember. Same thing with Rook. I don't think Rook ever asked to be cursed as well too. So I would be willing to bet right now, and I could be wrong, that the rogue, capital R rogue, is Captain Rook, and that BRIGGSY feels bad about what happened to Rogue or Rook. God, I'm doing it. I swear, I know what I'm talking about. I swear, I'm a good podcaster. BRIGGSY let down Rook, and she's looking for a way to fix that. She said that damned adventure was too dangerous. It cost too much. She's referring to something in the past. So BRIGGSY is looking to Ramsey to use the new power within the corrupted Sword of Souls to help Tasha. It deals all with memories, and apparently Madame Olivia understands that all too well because of the stuff. And this is what I'm talking about, where they're like kind of building stuff up a little bit by a little bit. So Madame Olivia helped out George and Rose, who were lovers, because of the stuff that was going on with Rook and George. Obviously, Olivia is the one that kind of helped bring their souls back together. She's very, very aware of what like power lies within memories, right? 'Cause she's the one that helped bring their souls back or together again. You know, they're off doing stuff with Captain Jack Sparrow. Who knows if we're actually ever going to see them again. So that's a whole nother thing. I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, the BRIGGSY says that the sword, the corrupted sword of power or sword of souls, that has a power to bring memories to real life. If you remember, like Monkey Island, you know, Melee Island, you know, brought back for the sake of having Guybrush Threepwood locked in one place, thinking that he's in like this magical version of Melee Island when it was all just a memory in the Sea of the Damned. That sword has the power to bring memories to life, and that is what they're going to be using to take care of Tasha. It's a MacGuffin. It's a really blatant MacGuffin. I'm not a huge fan of that, but this is what we're doing. This is how we're fixing Sea of Thieves, guys. We're fixing it through MacGuffins. So the quote here from BRIGGSY says, "The rat who stole the Sword of Souls also knew it could harness memory and make it real." And that's a reference to the rats helping LeChuck get the get the melee, or get the sword to be able to manifest Melee and Monkey Island for the Tall Tales. So I'm trying to think, where was I at with this? Talked about the sword. The last dialogue tree, which is the fourth one, is the Skull of Siren Song. Ramsey wants the skulls, apparently. It's all about families. The bonds are everlasting, unbreakable, even in death. And this is such a random, a weird connection that they're just like, BRIGGSY's like, "Bring me the Skull of Siren Song and I'll give you lots of gold." And you're like, "Oh, I like lots of gold, but what about that guild rep?" And she's like, "I'll think about it." And then she eventually was like, "Okay." So we get guild rep now with the Skull of Siren Songs, which is nice. But apparently she didn't want them, which is just astronomically like wild. Like, what? What do you mean you didn't want them? What was the point of you being the person that kicked off these Skull of Siren Songs if you're searching for them? You're not actually searching for them. You're searching for them for someone else who's actually searching for them. Who wants them? Ramsey. Why? Because it's all about family, as if it's like a Fast and the Furious movie. So basically the idea here is that the bond is everlasting, unbreakable, even in death. I'm pretty sure this ties into the Search for the Sea Dog comics, aka DeMarco, aka we killed off one of the best characters in the game. Everyone loved him and they want him back. We need to figure out how to write Marco back into the story instead of killing him off because of the Siren Queen, who was dead, but not actually dead. So still out there, but now we're searching for Siren Song skulls. It's weird because the Siren Song was supposed to be something that was putting the merfolk under a spell to sleep. And then they were awoken by like the warrior. It's getting convoluted out there, folks. It's getting super convoluted. I rely heavily on Deadeye Dre to help me with a lot of this stuff, who's also kind of a little frustrated with the way the story's been going. But If this works, she says that I will forever be in his debt, Ramsay's debt, just as I am in debt to another who saved me. And I think this is, of course, a redemption or a reference to Rook somehow, maybe a redemption for her skeleton. But Ramsay gave BRIGGSY the power to appear on our ships. But we need to find the quote unquote right skull, the correct siren song skull. So we're going to be doing that until the story dictates that it is the correct one. And then we will continue to do it afterwards because it's good money and good guild rep. But for the time being, this is kind of what I think they're going to be doing. And I could be 100% wrong on this. I have no idea like how they're going to play it out. This is how I would play it out if this is how they set it up for me. I'd write the story about getting DeMarco back to the Sea Dogs so that the Sea Dogs could have a reason to actually like have something to do in the world. Other than just like, you know, make them a faction in the game, have them be something that's fun. But, you know, give them a reason to have DeMarco back in the game. Because I think Lissetti's pretty much done with Sea of Thieves. I don't think that she wants to deal with the Sea of Thieves if she doesn't have to. That's just the feeling I get from it. But I think they're trying to go back and revert to before, to how things were before Adventures. I think Adventures were a real fun experiment. I think that we had a lot of really cool stuff come from it. But even if you like, even if you go into the game right now and you take a look at the Tall Tales, they have like the Ashen storyline with Seabound Soul and Heart of Fire segregated off as their own little like corner of the Tall Tales, but it's missing the final adventure that kind of tied the whole Stitcher Gym story together. But they're like, how do you bring that back as a Tall Tale to kind of finish out that story? So it's like, it's weird, man. It's super odd. But this wasn't the only character that we got in Sea of Thieves. We actually got a new character, Teddy, who, well, not new, but we got a character that we've seen before. Into the we've seen them, they're new to the Pirate Legend Tavern. That's a better way to put it. So Teddy is now in the Pirate Legend Tavern with legendary Louise, who is his wife. They are the parents to Tasha, and Tasha is the one that they need to help Ramsay recover the memories of what Tasha was before Tasha was cursed. I'm assuming this is how it's going to go. I don't actually know, but I'm assuming that it's because Teddy and Louise are the parents to Tasha, that they'll be able to help use memories of her to restore Tasha back to her normal human state using the corrupted Sword of Souls. That's how I'm assuming this is going to play out, right? But we won't know until later on, probably not for at least a couple months or so. Things will slowly kind of build and play out through that. Hopefully, I would imagine that they're going to wrap up this before what's it called? Not E3, but like the Xbox showcase, because for the last few years now, we've seen Sea of Thieves kind of have a bit of a something to show off for each Xbox showcase to kind of identify like, this is some of the stuff that's actually going to be coming to the game relatively soon. It was Pirates of the Caribbean, and it was guilds. It's always been something for a while. And I imagine that they'll probably want to wrap up this story with Tasha and BRIGGSY right before then. So hopefully by May, we'll have some resolution. So next month will be something, and then May will be something, and then June will either be the finale to whatever this all ends up being, or it will be a beginning to a new thing with story, because I think that they like that kind of cadence, and I think that's kind of where they want to go with it. Next on today's docket, let's talk about Marley. You guys don't know, Marley is one of the NPCs over at the Galleon's Grave Outpost, formerly known as Meg, who was the Merchant Alliance representative. So if you haven't been keeping track of what's been going on online as far as like social media goes, Sea of Thieves recently put out a tweet to kind of announce that one of the NPCs over at Galleon's Grave, who's the Merchant Alliance one, is now gone from a identifying as she, her, to a he, him. And this is a change that I believe actually echoes one of the transitions that happened for one of the devs at the studio. If you don't know, pretty much all of the NPCs, the original NPCs of the game, were voiced and played by devs at the studio. So if you've listened to any of the videos that they put out, as far as like the podcasts or the weekly videos, you may have heard a lot of the devs who have voiced the NPCs. So this is one of their opportunities to represent their devs and kind of honor their transition and give Marley life. It was really kind of taken aback by this when it first showed up, because I wasn't sure what was really going on. And then it kind of hit me all at once, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. They're actually like moving forward, and they're because at least for games, it's weird because you don't have to go through the process of actually transitioning in a video game. As a character, you're just a character. You create the one that you want. If you want another one, you create another one, or you delete the one that you have. And the pirate appearance potion gives us the ability to change the way our pirate looks and go through the infinite pirate generator again to kind of like choose what we want. But there's not really a transition phase. You know, there's not like months and years worth of effort and cost and suffering that goes into trying to represent who you are as a person physically. And that is a very important thing for a lot of people who feel like they aren't who they want to be. They want to look they want to look how they feel, and they want that to be represented on an outward appearance so that they can feel comfortable in their own skin, because that is, at the end of the day, everyone's goal. I think a lot of us, thanks to just society in general, we all think about our looks one way or another. You know, I would be very hard pressed to find the person that looks that does not own a mirror in their house. So feeling like yourself, feeling like you are who you want to be, that is something that is near and dear, I think, to a lot of us. We all want to feel natural and comfortable who we are. Many of you are, probably playing Sea of Thieves in pajama pants and sweatpants and stuff. You're chilling out at, maybe you don't even have pants right now. Maybe you're just going completely pantsless, or maybe like just having like a blanket or something like that. But you like to be comfortable, right? And that's a great feeling. It's a wonderful feeling to feel like you're happy. Like it's like when folks get like veneers or something like that, but this is a way larger scale. So I love that they've done this for Marley. I love the look of Marley. Meg already had like a really good look to her. So having Meg transition into Marley, and actually to be perfectly honest, the fact that we now actually have a male representative for the Merchant Alliance is really awesome, because that is something that is tied to the lore of Sea of Thieves through the comics and with Senior Trader Molly. So to have Marley part of this not only is a great way to introduce a transitioned character into Sea of Thieves and to give them their own purpose, point in honest representation. It's nice that it's a kickback to the dev that actually went through this, if that story is true. I haven't been able to get confirmation from the studio on that one, but it would be nice if we could. And I like that they had, I don't know if the dialogue tree was in there before, but they've definitely had the dialogue tree changed for this NPC to let you know, like in a very subtle way, that it's about being who you want to be in Sea of Thieves, and it's about being able to change into that person to be who you want to be. So it's really fantastic to see this. I'm really glad that they were able to take some time to put this in the state of the game. You know, we're always going to have reasons why something's not working in Sea of Thieves, but it's little moments like this that just remind you about how beautiful this game is and how much it really matters to not only the devs, but to the community, that you feel represented. Like you have someone in the game that you can point to and be like, this NPC was built or put into the game with the understanding that they have an understanding of what my life is like. And too often you don't always get to feel that. Some of us have privilege and try to keep that in check because we are represented, but not everyone is. And seeing things like this, it's nice to get that kind of recognition in the game. So I'm really proud of them for doing this. It's nice to see the tweets about them showing their support for the trans community. But they're going a step further and they're actually representing it not only at their studio, but in game as well too. And it fits with the lore. I like that this can be explained. So often in games, it's like, why did they change this? Well, they wanted to change it for the sake of changing it. Okay, well, how do we explain that in lore? Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't need to. Sometimes you can just do what you want because it's your video game. But I do actually like the fact that we have a pirate appearance potion. And if you don't like the way you look, whether it be in real life or in the game, you can at least change that in the game. And you can do it in real life. And it may take time, and you may not have the funds to be able to do it or the support that you want from your friends or family, but hopefully you do, because if that's what you want, I say go for it. Be who you want to be. I think that's going to do it for this this episode. There is some news coming out as far as like actually no, I'm sorry, I had ideas as far as like the stuff. So they are doing a Style of Thieves contest for season 11 that's going to be from the 25th to the 28th. So the themes are red carpet, castaway, pop band, artist, and the entries open up on March 25th for that if you're interested in finding out how to get those fashionista finery gloves to go along with your hat if you have one of the special hats in game. The other thing that I wanted to call out, I think this is something that honestly I've given some thought to, but I just can't justify really investing a whole lot of time into coming up with ideas, because we're going to know in just a few days about what the actual event is going to like reveal. But I did want to call this out because Regis Stella put in some effort into this, who recently picked up a Blue Yeti mic, which is really cool to be able to have some nice audio quality. Not that his audio quality wasn't good before, but he wanted to pick up a nice standalone microphone for the community episodes that we do. But he put in this for this podcast because next showcase is going to happen on the 20th, and we're going to find out a lot of the stuff that's coming with season 12, 13, and 14 for Sea of Thieves, as they kind of showcase what people can look forward to over the coming year as far as like additions to the sandbox. So he put some time into this, and based on what was already revealed from interviews and some unlikely things to be revealed, he put like a list together of like questions. So first question is a new weapon, at least one ? And I think that I don't know if there's enough likelihood that we will get a new weapon. If we do, I believe they may finally actually bring the hatchet to the game, and it will be interesting to see what sort of gameplay they build around that. The number 2 question was the new tools, like new cannonball types or throwing bombs. I would be interested to see if they do this. I think they might expand the style of the cursed cannonballs to other areas to give us a little more control over that. Personally, I think it would be very interesting to see if they could take the idea of blunder bombs or fire bombs and have curses built into that throwable. So like, for example, the green cursed cannonballs, not as widely used, I think, and not nearly as prolific as I think like the purple ones tend to be. The purple ones tend to be for the ship versions. Those tend to be a lot more impactful. But I think if you were, say, like a border and you had blunder bombs that were cursed blunder bombs, and you could you could throw them and cause people to fall asleep or dance, that had like a diminishing return on them so that you couldn't just chain them frequently. I think that would be interesting. Maybe limit it to like 2 per hand, or per like pocket, so like you could only have 2 cursed blunder bombs on you at any given time. One of the other questions comes up. Let's see. His list included at least 1 new voyage for us to do. I don't know if they'll announce any new voyages, because I think that they're probably going to focus in on sandbox features. And while this is something that kind of adds to the sandbox, I don't think that it's as an impactful thing for the sandbox. But I would like to have new voyages regardless. One of the other things, number 4, was 1 new trading company / or faction. I think if they're going to do something like that, they're going to go back and really revamp Hunter's Call. I think Hunter's Call would be the one probably coming in like season 13 or 14 that they would want to actually address the Hunter's Call. A new world event to plunder for some poor sod. I could see them doing a new world event, but if they did, I think it would be something more akin to the way the Skull of Siren song appears, where it's something that gets pushed to everyone's quest table. And that's the way that that's introduced. So it's not just another version of a thing that appears in the sky to draw people to it, because I think we have too many of those at the moment. It's one of those things where those usually go undone compared to the BRIGGSY thing, which when you tie it to commendations and cosmetics, people tend to push those more often than just doing random world events. But maybe that's just my personal opinion on that too. Number 6, he said on the list of things that he think might get revealed, a new ship type, like a 6 or dare I say 8-player ship. I don't think ships are going to get changed outside of just new cosmetics. With ships, those have been said to be some of the highest resource aspects of the game as far as like performance, and to add an entire new ship type at this late stage of the game, I think would draw upon the resources so heavily that it would be almost impossible for them to add a new ship type. What I would like for them to announce are new ship types that are of the current player crew size. So a sloop that's not a sloop, but still a 1 to 2 person player ship that just looks different. And so we have a little more variance on the types of ships that we see and still have the same crew sizes. Number 7, a new region of Sea of Thieves. I know that they've said that they won't do something like this, but I do see them doing something similar to what they did with Siren Shrines and Sea Forts, where something that is in the world gets added, that gets put out into the areas of the sea that are currently a little more open, or potentially a new area in the Sea of the Damned that we can go visit via some story thing. And then number 8 is the new crossover with a pirate world like One Piece. This one, he says, is the last and most unlikely to happen, but we have seen weirder things. I agree. I don't think that I don't think anyone was expecting Pirates of the Caribbean when Pirates of the Caribbean got announced. There were hints of it, but no one took that as actual truth. They just kind of, thought people were doing that. I still think that there's a good chance that we will see the captain at some point, and that the captain will be Captain Hook. I still firmly believe that based on what I've been told, and what I've been able to work out on my own. So I'm looking forward to that reveal. But that feels so far away given the whole Flameheart story, plus the Dark Brethren and Tasha and all that right now. So we'll have to see, especially given the emphasis on them wanting to focus on the sandbox, right? So I think that there's a good opportunity for them to have numerous different types of sandbox elements that they can add to this. They could bring back gunpowder kegs. I would like to see a brigantine skeleton ship. I think that would be nice. I still think that there's plenty of ideas out there for a lot of things that they could do to add tools to the sandbox that don't get kind of left to the wayside the way, say, like message boards have. I think message boards, great idea, that had some decent implementation, but the role-playing aspect of it wasn't a big enough draw once the commendations were completed for a lot of people. And then lastly, just to kind of let folks know, they are going to be doing a Sea of Thieves preview event that is happening over on March 20th. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm very curious to kind of find out what's going to happen there. That's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is PT or PDT technically. 1 p.m. Eastern, DEDT Eastern time, and then 5 p.m. GMT time, because I believe, I'm not sure if daylight savings time has hit GMT yet. So I could be wrong about that. But anyway, the times are up on their tweet. So hopefully they double check this before they posted it. But 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. GMT time. I think it hasn't changed yet, because that's what is that, 9 hours as opposed to 8. So yeah, very interested to see what they announce, because they're going to be talking about in development tools and gameplay plan to arrive for seasons 12, 13, and 14. This is going to be streamed over on Twitch and YouTube on their channels. Regis has also stated that they are going to be having that on their or streamed in the actual Keelhauled podcast. So if you want to watch that along with other folks and you have the ability to do so, unfortunately, that is like right smack dab in the middle of my work week. Almost perfectly smack dab in the middle of it. So I probably won't get to watch this live. I might be able to have it up on like a second monitor, but I probably won't be able to like comment on things as it's happening, but it'll be very cool. I have high hopes for them. Whatever they announce now is going to be the thing that has to sell PlayStation fans. So I imagine whatever they put in here is going to be stuff that the Sea of Thieves community is really going to be invested in. And I hope that it ties closer to things that they want to do with, say, like combat, ships, and monsters. Those are like the three things that I'm kind of hoping that they kind of add to. I would imagine that clothing loadouts will probably show its face, and we'll probably get an idea of what that looks like. I just hope that they don't tie any of it to the Pirate Emporium. But I think that's going to do it. Gosh, a lot to cover. I feel like I got everything in there, but I know that there's definitely going to be details that I missed. Chances are you're probably not going to worry about those so much as the stuff that I wanted to make sure I got covered in this episode. But if I did miss something that you actually wanted to hear about, feel free to let me know what that was, and I'll make sure to get it included in next week's episode, which actually, now that I look at it, I think next week's episode is going to be, it should be a Gold Hoarder episode. So the 23rd of March is when our next Gold Hoarder episode is coming up, and that's going to be on the 1st. There is a Golden Glory weekend that is going on. Well, not a weekend, but like a whole week, basically starting on the 20th, that they're going to be having for that. I think I was able to get some time off for that. I don't know, but I know I had to put some time off requests in for other stuff, and I can't remember if I did it for this coming week, but I definitely plan to what's it called? I definitely plan on doing some grinding on Hourglass if it works well, because I want to actually try and get my skeleton curse. It's going to be a long time before I get both curses, but I most definitely am working on getting my skeleton curse. I think I'm at level 40 now, which is a heck of a big sight or step up from where I was a year ago. So really happy that I'm getting help with that. Definitely appreciate it. It was nice to run into one of the other Keelhauled members in the Discord during one of the Hourglass fights. It's kind of funny that happens. I think that's like the first time I've ever had that happen. So definitely entertaining to see that, and GG's all around for everyone that was playing. It was nice to have folks kind of GG at the end of a match, as opposed to some of the other stuff people say. Grumpy. Time to call it after that. If you lose 3 times, good time to just hang things up. Go do something else. Don't continue diving if you've lost a few times, because chances are your mindset has already been shifted too much into a negative tilted state. And sometimes it's better to take a break, go do something that's fun, and reset that mindset. So that way you're not constantly just browbeating into, hitting your head against the wall in a state that you're already in a negative mindset, and you need to break that so that you can actually come back with a clear mind when you're actually doing stuff like that. So bit of personal advice on that one from a former professional that used to play Heroes of the Storm. But I think that's going to do it for this episode. So Pirates, I really hope you guys had a good time with this. I hope you really enjoyed it. And for those of you who are listening, I did want to give you guys all, this is the little one extra thing that you may not have known about. So if you wanted to get the Kraken bundle that is part of the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate code, there is a Kraken set that was recently updated for that. Norwegian over at the Keelhauled community graciously DM'd me their code, and I am now putting that up into the into this so that you can actually like have a chance at it. I'm going to try and make sure that I get the video version uploaded as well, so that way the code will be in the show notes for that as well. So the mystery code is don't do T. Let's see. I'm I'm going to actually leave off the last number / letter. So that way people have to kind of figure out what it is. But it's going to be 2T7Q3 RRHQK Q6XKC9CC7Q7TMM. There's one more letter or number that is at the end of that code. That 5th number or letter is being left off. So hopefully you will figure it out. And if you do, you will actually get that code. So thank you to Norwegian for offering that up. Hopefully that makes it a little bit easier for folks who are listening and want to have an opportunity to get it. You do have to kind of guess what that last article is. I don't know what to call it. Number and or letter. And hopefully you guys get it. But a little bit of work there. Just want to make sure it's easy for folks to just not have to copy paste it from the YouTube version and redeem it immediately. I still need to get that video rendered out and uploaded before I actually push go live on the audio version too. So hopefully those will all go up at the same time so everyone has an equal opportunity. Chances are UK folks will probably get the opportunity first because by the time I get this all done, it's probably going to be like 3 a.m.